Hello, all Hawkeye fans out there. Here to discuss how the men and women, the reaction to them losing to the number one and two ranked teams last night on the road, and just my general thoughts on it. Let's start with the men. Um, the men got off to a very sluggish start. It was turnover, and they found themselves I believe, down 16 points. I don't know if that was in the first half or not. I know at one point they got down like 16, 17 points. Anyway, they were down 11 at halftime. Okay. And so second half they come back and they make it a game. They get within six with about 5 minutes, 4 minutes to play. Somewhere in there. And then they just it kind of fell apart after that, and Iowa loses 87 to 70 something. Um, and so they gave up too many points. Um, this has been Iowa's problem all year when on the road, not being able to score enough points. Although I think they scored like 76 or something like that, 73s. Anyhow, they scored enough points. I think would have been enough for a victory if they could have played some defense. But the stat last night shows that Iowa is 3-6 on the road this year, and in those, they're averaging 69 points a game in, I believe, in those road games, and so obviously they don't feel as comfortable shooting away from home as they do on the road, and so, but this is just a clear case that Iowa's not playing much defense at all. And when I look up at the stats of the game, let me pull those up real quick. Okay, so I was now 7-6 in the Big Ten. Um, okay, so Iowa scored 73 to 87, so they lose. Keegan had his usual big game with 24 points. However, he was only 1 from 4 for the 3-point line. Philip Bracha was got 17 points, and nobody else did much of anything else. Euless with 4, Perkins with 8. And by the way, I understand that Perkins, when he left the arena for the trip home last night, that he was limping badly. This is according to Kennington Smith of the Hawk Central Des Moines Register, who was at the game last night. Okay, I just really expecting Peyton Stanford to show up a little more. Only 3 points from him last night. I'm sorry, 6 points from him last night. Connor only had 3 points. He had a rough night of shooting. He was 1 for 6 and 1 from 4 from the 3-point line. So he was really having a bad day. Um, Josh Dix, he didn't score anything, but really he needs to show up more than he does. This guy is supposed to be a pure shooter, supposed to be the best pure shooter on the team. Why isn't he scoring more? Agundale gave us 4 minutes and went 1 for 2, and got 2 points. But not bad for not playing for several games now. Um, and so got Desante Bowen. He also had 0 points last night, but he only played 24 seconds of the game. Um, so anyway, on the flip side, um, the freshmen, I believe, got 24 and 17 points each. Um, Edie got 14 points. He didn't have that much. He had like 9 or 8 points with about 5 minutes to go. So he must have really been putting it in the hoop at the end there. And somebody else had 11 first, and so they had 5 players in double figures, and so they had a more of a, I think, a total team. I think ours was more of a less of a team effort last night than could be expected. Patrick McCaffrey though did he on his return trip he did have 9 points. That matches his largest point total since he came back from his leave of absence, and so he was 4 for 6 and 1 for 1 from the 3 point line. So um, he did well. I'd like to see him start getting more minutes on there. Like I said, before, because the other one's playing so well, I don't know where they would take it from. You know, maybe Euless. Maybe take it from Euless and move Perkins over to the point and let Perkins run the point and uh, and then have an extra forward in there, an extra forward and just one guard in there, or have Peyton Sanford play the guard. But all in all, it's just kind of a you know I'm not going to overreact. I mean, the team is going to still be in great shape, guys. So that being said, and they have Minnesota coming up. It's a road game. Like I said before, they're only 3-6 on road games, and so um, they I don't know that it's a little disheartening a little bit because of that 3-6. Because I mean, if they had a little bit better record on the road games, it would mean more. Um, well, wait a minute. Are they 3-6 in road games? That would mean no. That would mean that yeah. And so I don't know. I'm just getting a little confused here. What I wanted to say, but they're like I said before, they're only scoring 69 points a game at road trip. So, and Minnesota is really tough place to play, even if they're really a bad team this year, and they really are a bad team this year. If that game gets played, because as you know, they've already paused 1 or 2 games because of COVID, and so hopefully they're able to play that game. It's on Sunday, so they still have a couple more days. And so far, I haven't heard anything that the game has been officially postponed yet. So, um, hoping for the best there. Okay, getting on to the women's game a little bit. They they were pretty much in this game through 3 quarters of the game, and a little bit into the fourth quarter. They were still very much in this game. I mean, in the fourth quarter, they started to get down by 4 or 5 points consistently, but you felt like they were going to come back and make us reach, and then Monica Sonano fouls out, and the Hawks didn't seem to score much after that. They didn't. I know that one of the things that bothered me is their poor free throw shooting. They were 12 for 23, which means they missed 11 free throws. But Hannah Stolke missed 8 of those. She was 0 for 8 from the free throw line. She's got to make those. I feel like, and then uh, Caitlin missed 3 of her free throws, which is unusual for her. If she misses one, she gets two, and Stolke makes 6 of 8 or something like that. I feel like this is a different game going down the stretch. We're not in a position to have to play comeback as much. I feel like we could have been playing with the lead a little bit had we shot better. Um, Also, to uh, they let me look it up, but they had a really poor 3 point shooting night too. Um, let's get that out there. So okay, They shoot 6 for 23 from three-point land. Not gonna cut it, guys. Not gonna cut it. They need to, again, if they even shoot a couple of more, um, what is that? 6 from 23. That's about 25% or around 24%, somewhere in there. So if they shoot 50% from three-point land, then they win the game, and if they shoot 70%, you know, they shot like 49%, or 51%, it looks like 51% from the free throw line. They shoot 70% from the free throw line, and 50% or 40%, I would say, even from 30 to 40% from the 3-point line. They win this game. They just had a really poor shooting night overall. You know, uh, they didn't score their average. Uh, so here it is. Its free throw shooting was 52%. 3 points was 26%. Field goals made was 48%. So I was pretty much close in estimating um, what they did for percentages. So I don't like that. No, that can't be right. Yeah, here it goes. I got it right now. Iowa shot 26% from the 3-point line, 52% from the free throw line, and 48% overall. And so that's where I was at. Yeah, I knew I had it wrong somewhere. As usual, Caitlin had a decent game, but she had 8 turnovers. She committed 8 turnovers. And Monica Sonano had 4 turnovers of her own. And so they had 18 turnovers total. I think they do about 11 or 12 per game total. So I don't have the points off of what the points were off of the um, turnovers. But yeah, 4 and 8's unacceptable for a fifth-year senior and a junior. That's just unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. Caitlin had 35 points, had 10 assists. Um, Monica only had 6 points last night. We need more than that from her. We can't have that less from her. And Hannah Stolke had 10. The only other player in double figures. Everybody else was in single figures, 2, 3 points, 6 points, and Kate Martin had 6 points. Gabby had 3 points. She was only, and shot again for the second straight game. She shot 1 for 1 on her um 3-point shot. Why isn't she shooting more? Is she scared to shoot after she makes it? I mean, is she scared to shoot more? I mean, I know that she's had trouble shooting this year, but she had a couple of open shots last night when I looked, and kind of hard to watch both games, but I had both games up trying to watch both of them at the same time, and it was kind of hard. Um, so, but Molly Davis, she kind of scares me a little bit. She seems to do a lot of things that scare me, but she didn't have any turnovers, but she usually accounts for 1 or 2, and she didn't get any points last night. Um, Molly Davis was 0 for 2 from the 3-point line. I don't know that she's a 3-point shooter. I think she needs to step in inside that 3-point line and shoot that a little better. But overall, they lost to the number 2 team in the country. Indiana is first place at 13-1 now in the Big Ten, and Iowa's 11-2 in the Big Ten. So they're only a game and a half behind first place. So Iowa's got a couple tough games coming up too. I mean, they have to go to Maryland, and Maryland will probably like to have a piece of Iowa after what Iowa did to them in Iowa City. Um, but we get Indiana I believe it's the last game of the season, or the second last game of the season. It's a sold out game. I am fully convinced that Iowa will right the ship on this one and beat Indiana. Um, going forward on this game at home, and it could have regular season title implications. We shall see. They're going to need some help, obviously. I mean, they're going to have to beat Indiana and maybe, well, if they beat Indiana, that would give them each two if Iowa doesn't lose again in the Big Ten. So that would give them a share of the title. But to get an outright title, they would need some help to have Indiana get beat again. And so I want to bring up the following schedule. We want to talk about the schedule coming up. Okay, so they got Rutgers and Wisconsin at home. I see those both as wins. Um, Followed by Nebraska at home, right? No, Nebraska's on the road. And then we go, okay, second last game is Maryland on the road in Indiana at home. So they've got three of their next five games at home. And so um, I believe that they should be able to beat Rutgers, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. Although Nebraska always gives them fits, but I believe that they can beat those three teams. Now they've got to, to set up the game with Indiana for for a share of the title or better. Um, they've got to beat Maryland. They can't come home with a loss to Maryland, so it's very important. And they showed that they could beat Maryland pretty good, and maybe they don't beat Maryland as bad this time, but if they win that one, then they come home with a come on ho- they'll come home with only two losses and ready to face Indiana for a share of the title, and maybe better if they get some help. And so that one's looking good. Let's go back to the men's schedule coming up. Okay, let's talk about the men's schedule coming up. All right, so far Minnesota is still on. Okay, we lost to Ohio State in a very close game that we should have been able to win in at Ohio State. They're not having a great season, but my understanding is that they've not been healthy all year, and that they're finally getting back to full strength. So they might become the Ohio State team that they were earlier in the year. And so I'm not sure what they're bringing, if they're going to bring a full healthy team or not to Iowa City. So that will be next Thursday night, the 16th of February. Um, and then we have to go to Evanston and play Northwestern. They're a very tough team to play. They proved that when we played them at home. They were very tough, but we started to pull away at the end. And then we got to take Wisconsin on the road. Now we've already lost to Wisconsin at home. What can we do there? Honestly, Wisconsin's not playing great ball, but they're also starting to get healthy, and they've been playing poor ball lately because they haven't been healthy, and they're starting to get healthy. So, do we run into a healthy Wisconsin team when we get there? Okay, Michigan State, we should have beat them the first time around. We really should have. There's no reason why we should have lost that game except for the Izzo effect at the arena. Poor fouls at the wrong time, getting called for fouls at the wrong time um, was not good. And Iowa still had a chance to win that one. I believe that was the game where Peyton Sanford had two shots, 3-point shots attempt at the end to win that game against Michigan State, and somebody put up a 2-point attempt that didn't go into that would have tied the game and sent it to overtime. The game that most worries me right now on the schedule at the most is at Indiana at Bloomington. Um, they're playing pretty good ball right now. They're catching fire since the last time we beat them, and so they're starting to go. I'm not worried about Nebraska coming to Iowa City. I mean, they got us once, but we can get them again. We can get them this time. So honestly, Iowa, I think they're in a position to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think they can win 5 games in a row before Indiana, and I might give it at Indiana a lot. I might give that as a loss. Um, I just expect it to be, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a long ways to go. Um, and then I expect to beat Nebraska, so they should go at least 6-1 or 7-0 to finish the season. Um, which wouldn't be bad. I gave Iowa men a 12-8 record for the Big Ten, and I just said I don't know where that finishes in the if it finishes in the top five or not. It depends where everybody else finishes and how they do against each other. But basically, that middle group that includes Iowa is just knocking each other off. And um, but I would think that if Iowa can go 6-1 or 7-0 to finish this stretch of games before heading to the Big Ten tournament, I believe fully that that would give them maybe a 13 or 14 win record. So I would see Iowa anywhere from 12 to 14 wins in the Big Ten, and that should put them easily in the top five. Top five. I mean, it depends what Rutgers does. We don't face Rutgers again this year, and unless it's in the basketball tournament. Um, we don't face Illinois again, unless it's in the tournament. Um, who else is there at the top? Well, we do have a shot at Indiana if we can get them on the road at their place. Um, I believe they're ahead of us in the standings too. Let me pull up the most current Big Ten standings after last night, because I mean it changes almost daily because of teams beating each other up. Okay, current Big Ten men's basketball standings. Okay. Um. Wow. Too bad we couldn't be one of those 8-5 teams. Purdue is 12-2. Um. Indiana, Northwestern, and Rutgers and Michigan are all 8-5. We don't face Michigan again. We do face Northwestern and Indiana, so we get a shot at those two teams. Illinois is currently at 7-5. Maryland and Iowa and Michigan State are all at 7-6. Wisconsin's at 6-7, so they're not playing super bad ball. They're close enough that they can make some noise. Penn State's 5-8. We don't play them again. Nebraska is 4-10. Ohio State 3-10, and Minnesota 1-11. We play all three of those teams. So Iowa basically has all these teams that are ahead of them in the standings to play yet, except for Michigan. They have Michigan. Yeah, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. I wanted to say behind them. One, two, three, four, five. Five. They're play five teams that they're either currently tied with or behind them in the standings, and they play um just one team, two teams ahead of them in the standings. So that's our 7 games. Man, I wish Iowa was one of those 8-5 teams. So they dropped one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8th. They're tied for 7th, because they beat Maryland. I don't know why they would have Maryland in the standings ahead of Iowa, because we beat Maryland, so we would own the tiebreaker over Maryland. And so, but yeah. So anyway, we're tied for 7th, 8th, and ninth place. It looks like, with Michigan and Maryland State. So yeah, been a strange season. I mean, it's just like all these teams just beating each other up in the middle. Usually by now there's a little more separation. And so I don't know why Illinois. Oh, they lost a game to Minnesota. That's why they're not. They would also be. I would guarantee they would be 8-5 if they hadn't lost that game to Minnesota. But they'll get that back later. So, but yeah, guys, I think there's good things ahead for both the men and the women. Last night's losses are not panic losses. They're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back, and I think they both do very well to finish the season. Very well, to finish the season. And like I said before, I don't know, if Iowa gets 12 to 14 wins, I have no idea where that puts them in the standings, because they have no control over what Illinois does ahead of them. Rutgers does ahead of them. They can control one game in Northwestern, but even if they beat Northwestern, they're still one game behind Northwestern in the standings. Um, that being said, yeah. So guys, don't worry about those men and the women. The men are still in the driver's seat for a good top 5 finish, and top 4 would be perfect, because then they get the double bye. Um, and that would be perfect for Iowa to get the double bye. Uh, so yeah, if they can get 14 wins, I mean, double bye is not too far out of reach. Like I said, it depends what the teams do ahead of them. Um, Iowa can only control one game of Indiana and one game of Northwestern, but they can't control the rest of them. All they can do is control what is in front of them. Same with the women. I mean, like I said before, it looks like they've got 3 wins in a row coming up, followed by Maryland and Indiana. They're 2 tough games, one on the road, one at home. And so, yeah, I think they're in pretty good position to uh, to be in a title hunt. I mean, obviously Iowa's not in the title hunt for the regular season, but if they can get into the double bye by winning six of the last 7 games or better, or even 7 in a row, that would be fantastic. That would I definitely would think that would put them around the top 4. I don't know if it will. Like we said, it depends on what the other teams do. But guys, I just wanted to give my little reaction to last night games. Caitlin Clark had 8 turnovers last night in her game, and that's just, oh my gosh, Caitlin, you can't do that. And honestly, Caitlin, you're in the position to where you need to take over the game. I thought there for a while you were trying to force some assists, which caused some of those 8 turnovers. If she just like takes over the game, I mean, because she has smooth moves. All she has to do is make a move toward the hoop and jump and shoot, and somebody's going to follow her. She needs, make sure that she goes toward a player in foul trouble and just makes that person foul her. I mean, I realize that Indiana wasn't calling fouls on Indiana. I mean, the referees weren't calling fouls on Indiana that much last night, but you know, you still can't ignore the fact that she should have gone to the line more, you know, and for maybe for N1s, but we'll see. The men, you just got to give them the heroic effort after that bad start they got off to. You got to give them a heroic effort for coming back, getting within 6, and almost, like I said, after they got within 6, things just kind of fell apart after that. So, anywho, yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit of reaction to the men and the women. No panic time yet, guys. They both lost to very good teams last night, both on the road. Um, I thought Iowa had a chance against Indiana, and they proved that for at least 3 quarters last night. Um, And I honestly had the men down for this loss last night. I didn't think we'd be able to, but to be honest with you, it wasn't the person who I thought was going to hurt us. Edie. Edie didn't hurt us. Maybe with some of his rebounds and stuff at timely manners, but I didn't think he hurt us that much. I thought he would hurt us more and cause more foul trouble than he did for us. Um, it was the freshman guards last night. Those freshman guards who were just like we just kind of let get away and shoot threes on us all night long. So that's where we're at. But anyway, I just wanted to reassure you guys that I'm not going to overreact to these losses last night. Um, I'm there. I'm ready for a nice run to finish the season for both. I see both these teams having a nice run to finish the season, and we'll see where they land up when the season's over. I'm going to get out now and hope you guys enjoy your day, and I hope you still enjoy the Hawks. And oh, tonight's Friday, Iowa versus Michigan in wrestling on BTN tonight, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time game. That's an awful late game because I think in Michigan that means it's at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock start, right? Isn't Michigan in the Eastern Time Zone? Anyway, um, yeah, wow, late game, late wrestling match, but hopefully Iowa comes out of that one. Hopefully they're at full strength and we'll see how that one goes. All right, guys, I'm out. Bye.